Welcome to PlanHub's Masterclass courses. My name is Jessica, and in this video, you'll learn how to complete a takeoff on a painting trade. Knowing how to set yourself up for a successful and efficient takeoff and estimate will save you time and money so you can bid on more projects and grow your company. In preparation for this takeoff, I've reviewed the project files using the file viewer and identified the reflected ceiling plan and elevation layout pages. I have chosen to hide all other pages in my Pages panel on the left. For this training, I'll be working on the reflected ceiling plan page and the interior elevations pages. We will start with the reflected ceiling plan. To get started, find your scale and set the scale for your measurements on the page. To zoom in and find the scale, roll the wheel on your mouse or use your cursor scroll capability. Rolling the wheel forward will zoom you in, rolling backward will zoom you out. Wherever your cursor or mouse is positioned on the page when you zoom in is where you will zoom into. Once you have identified the scale, click on the scale tool in your toolbar. In the pop-up box, select the scale that aligns with the scale provided on the page. Click Set, and now you're ready to start taking measurements. While zoomed in, if you need to move your page around while measuring or zoomed in on a page, use the right-click action on your cursor to right-click, hold, and drag the page to move it. Let's start with measuring for all ceiling areas that are labeled as PT-01. We will want to use the area tool because we are looking at the surface area of the ceiling. In the area tool, select the option for multi-point to have the most versatile tool from measurement to measurement. In our properties box, we always need to name our measurement. I am naming my measurement after the product I am measuring for, PT-01. In the description box, I'll list the brand, color, number, and finish that has been described in my schedules. You can apply a unit cost. This should be a reflection of your price for this work by the square foot. For this example, we'll say 50 cents. Make any adjustments to the color for the fill and opacity, and the color for the stroke and opacity. Finally, you can add a fill texture if you would like. Once you're happy with the properties, click Set. Your cursor will change to a crosshair. Align the crosshair with the corner you wish to begin your measurement. Using a single left click to drop your first point. Now move your mouse along the perimeter of the area you wish to measure, aligning the crosshair with the next corner for this area. Again, we'll use another single left click to drop another point. Continue identifying the corners along the perimeter of this area until you have defined the entire perimeter. You should have one point on all corners. To finish a measurement, after you've dropped your final point with a single left click, press the Enter key on your keyboard, and this last line will snap into a straight line linked to the first point you dropped. Note to the right that we are provided with a value for the total square footage of the area we have measured so far. Additionally, we have a box with a plus sign. We can click on this box to identify the perimeter of this area in linear footage. I do need to continue adding to this measurement because I have more than one area that this paint type will be applied to. To continue adding to an existing measurement, click on the Continue Measuring toggle in your Measurements panel on the right for the measurement you wish to add value to. Once this toggle is switched to the right, it is turned on. You can now follow the steps we followed in the first measurement. tracing the perimeter of the area you wish to measure. If the area you are measuring has hard right or 45-degree angles that align with the XY axis of the page, feel free to utilize the Snap to Angle tool or the speed square in your control bar. This will allow for accuracy when performing measurements and getting 90-degree angles. Another way to finish out a measurement is to utilize a double click on your last point rather than utilizing the first method we discussed, which is a single click and then the Enter key. Using a double click will finish that measurement out. Once I'm ready, I can switch to another page inside the document that I wish to continue this measurement in, getting a grand value for the whole project for my paint type 1. Be sure to set the scale on the page before you begin adding to your measurement. To continue adding to a measurement that you have started on another page, toggle the Show All Measurements to the On position in your Measurements panel. Next, toggle the measurement on that you wish to continue adding to. Now, continue the same process we performed on the other pages. If you ever drop a point in a place that you do not want it, use the Escape key on your keyboard to undo that point. Once you have completed all measurements, you can see the combined total square footage provided to the right in your Measurements panel. If you're done measuring for this project, you can pull this information out of the system by navigating to the Project Measurements page and clicking the Export button in the upper right-hand corner. This will download the measurements to your device as a CSV file. If you wish to utilize the measurements in your estimate, you can navigate back to the project and click on the 3 little dots for a particular measurement to access the Actions menu. Next, click the option to Add to Estimate. If you have multiple measurements you wish to send to the estimate, you can do this action in a bulk way by checking off the items you wish to send and clicking Add to Estimate in the upper right-hand corner. In the pop-up window, select if you wish to create a new page in your project estimate, or if you wish to add this measurement to an existing estimate page. Once you've made your selection, click Add. If you commonly price your work based on the square footage, this is a great way to calculate your bid, as the conversion in your project estimates is quantity times unit cost. To access your project estimate, once you've sent something in, click Project Estimates at the top. In your project estimates, you have the opportunity to include waste factors, adjusted rates, overhead and profit, and tax. To impact the waste factor percentage and the tax, click the Edit icon. Use the scroll bar to adjust your unit cost, your waste, and your tax rate. Click Save to save any changes. If you would like to make bulk adjustments to specific line items, check off all line items you wish to make adjustments to. Use the Actions drop-down bar to access the options to make adjustments to all selected cost items. Click Add Cost Item to add a blank cost item. When filling in a blank cost item, be sure to include information in all required and all applicable fields. Required fields are fields marked with a red star or asterisk. Click Save to add your cost item. Next, we'll go over what assemblies are and how you can use them to account for your material needs as a painter. An assembly is any combination of item types that, when assembled together, have a specific purpose and function. Assemblies are groupings of cost items. Each cost item has a handy formula that converts your takeoff measurement units into an easy-to-understand breakdown of what it will take to install a specific product. Now that we have a better understanding of what assemblies are and where they get used, let's dive into the Assemblies page in PlanHub. To get to the assemblies, click on the Assemblies tab in your Takeoff tool. To create a new assembly from scratch, click Create Assembly. When creating or editing an assembly, you have two areas: the Assembly Creation area and the Cost Item Library area. All assemblies must have an assigned name. I recommend naming the assembly after the product you have listed in the assembly or the type of install you're performing. When creating an assembly, you have fields that are required. The first of those is the assembly name and measurement type. For the assembly name, I'm going to use a name that will help me identify this assembly and its cost items inside of my Takeoff tools. Next, for my measurement type, I'll select the Takeoff tool that I use to perform my measurements. Now I need to start adding cost items. Because I preemptively created and saved the cost items that I needed for this assembly in my cost items library, I will use the cost items section to pull those up. You can filter the cost items by owner type. Click on the arrow, enter in the owner name, or check off your company. You can also search for specific cost items by using the search box. This cost item accounts for my paint material, and this cost item accounts for the labor for my painting work. I will check off the items that I wish to use and then click Add. I'm also going to be utilizing the painter's tape cost item. If you have not preemptively created cost items, you can create them within your assembly and then save them to your cost item library after you save your assembly. Click Add New Cost Item. This will give you a blank line item that you can fill in. Use my description box to both describe my item and how I bill for it. You'll notice many of these fields have already been filled out as part of the creation process for these cost items. You'll also notice in my description, I do give myself a little bit of an idea of how much coverage I get per item. Now I need to edit the waste percentage, tax, and unit of measure for each of these line items. Click the edit icon to make adjustments to your line item fields. Because I do not charge tax on labor and I don't charge for waste on labor, I will be leaving those two fields empty. To save your changes, click Save. All cost items included in your assembly must have a formula. To apply a formula to a cost item, click the F of X symbol for that cost item. When applying your formula, you can utilize any formulas you've already created in your formula library. If you are creating a formula from scratch, formulas are required to have a name and value in the formula box. The dotted box is the formula box, and the formula name box is where you'll enter in the name. If you've already created a formula, you can click the plus sign to apply that formula. Next, you'll need to click Apply to Cost Item. Next, we'll create the formula for our labor. This is a formula I've already created, but let's talk through the numbers in this formula. I've measured all of my paint areas with the area tool, and I know that I will need to apply 3 coats. So I've multiplied the area by 3, getting my grand total square footage of labor required. To test your formula, click Test Formula. Enter in the amount for a test run. This can be any number. I recommend doing large round numbers that are easy for you to calculate in your head. Then click Run. If the results align with what you would expect, you can then click Apply to Cost Item. Now we'll create a formula for our 3M painter's tape. All of our area measurements provide us with a linear footage perimeter. And because we will use a lot of painter's tape and there's going to be high levels of waste for painter's tape, we're going to go ahead and use the linear footage provided with our area measurement to calculate how much tape we need. The first simple variable that we'll utilize is length. Next, each roll of painter's tape comes in 720 linear foot rolls. So we're going to take the length and divide it by 720. This should provide us with our total linear footage. If you know that you'll need to apply multiple layers of painter's tape as you apply multiple layers of paint, you'll need to utilize that method that we used before by first multiplying the length by the number of layers. You'll see an example of this provided over here to the right, and then divide that value by how much coverage you get per purchase of an item. For the formula's name, we'll describe the formula. Click Save and Apply to Cost Item. For our miscellaneous painting application supplies, the formula for this will align with my purchase rate. I know that I will need to purchase these supplies each time I have a new project. So I'll start with naming it. Because I know that I will need this once per project, but I want to ensure that it always gets applied to my painting projects. A simple variable for this could either be count, or we could create a custom variable. Let's create a custom variable. Click Custom Variables, then click Create New. Name this variable. The value does not save to this information. It's something that we will apply from project to project as needed. Click Save. Now I can click the Add option, and no other math is required for this formula, so I'll go ahead and save this and apply it to my cost item. The painting application supplies also needs to have a unit cost applied. To get that added or edit cost item, click the edit icon and add in your value. Now that we have added all the line items that we wish to use on our area paint measurements, we're going to go ahead and save our changes. This will save our assembly so that we can use it moving forward. Add the cost items that you manually created to your cost item library. In the assemblies page, find the assembly you created and click the Add to Cost Item Library icon. Now let's go put this assembly to use. We're going to go to the project name in the upper left-hand corner. In our measurements panel, we'll find the first measurement that we wish to utilize the assembly on. Select the 3 little dots or the Actions menu and select Send to Assembly. In the Assemblies drop-down, you'll see a list of all assemblies available for this particular type of measurement. All of these assemblies could technically be used on this area measurement we created. However, we want to find the one that we just created. Select the assembly you wish to use. Next, select which page inside of your estimate you want these cost items to be provided in. You can create a new estimate page or send it to an existing page. We'll create a new page. Click Add. All assemblies will have this window. Here you can see that the area pulled from the measurement is automatically applied because we utilized simple variables when creating our formulas. However, for our custom variable, we need to enter this value in. Next, we'll click Insert Values. But let's go ahead and send our paint type 4 into the same estimate page. Again, click Send to Assembly in your Actions menu. Select the assembly you wish to use. Select the page you wish to send it to. We just created this one, so I'm going to select that. For this one, because I've already applied it once, I'm going to leave this blank. This will prevent it from being utilized as a cost item inside of my estimate. Once you're happy with your Insert Values page, click Insert Values. Use the hyperlink to enter the project estimate. And now we can see our material breakdown. If you wish to make changes to the columns that are showing on this page, click the settings icon and deselect any columns that you no longer wish to view. Use the scroll bar to see your totals over to the right. And you'll notice here our total quantity is by the gallon and our unit of measure is square feet. When we built out this formula, we built it so that it was a reflection of how many gallons we needed, but we forgot to update our unit of measure to price per square foot and our total unit cost. So we're going to need to go and make some edits to that existing assembly and rework this assembly. First, I'll go ahead and remove this line item. I'll need to do this for both of these measurements. Let's go to our assemblies. Click the edit icon on the assembly we just created. And let's go ahead and edit this line item. The average cost of a gallon of this paint is going to be about $48. So go ahead and enter that value in. And my unit of measure, I'll update over to gallons. Save your changes, and then scroll down and click Save Changes at the bottom. Let's go work that one more time. Click on the project name to get to your Takeoff page. Open up your measurements panel and send your first measurement into the assembly. Now to go review your estimate, click on Project Estimate. Navigate to the page that you selected when sending your measurement into the assembly. Now expand your item list. Our total quantity had no change. However, our total price tag did change due to the number of gallons we will need to purchase. If you wish to make any edits to these line items for this specific project, you can click Edit here. You can save these cost items to your library by clicking on the Save Cost Item icon, and you can remove items by clicking Delete. Note, because we did not include our miscellaneous painting application supplies in our secondary cost item, it is not applied in the grouping for this item's install. When applying paint in construction, we typically need to protect surfaces that will not be painted, such as floors and openings, doorways, or windows. Let's go ahead and quickly measure the total square footage to account for our construction paper that will need to be applied to the floor as part of our materials. For the sake of time, I'll speed this part up, but I am creating a new area measurement to account for the flooring that will need to be protected with a construction paper. Next, I need to account for my plastic sheeting. I've moved to my interior elevation pages, and I'm using the area tool to map out everywhere that I expect I will need to hang plastic sheeting. All right, I've gone ahead and measured for all the areas that I know I'll need to apply construction paper to the floor and all the areas that I know that I'll need to hang up some type of protective plastic sheathing to protect those surfaces from being painted or getting the paint spray or paint applied to them. Now let's go quickly build some assemblies for these items. These were both measured by the area tool, so when we create that assembly, we'll make sure that we select area in our measurement type field. Let's start with our construction paper. I'm using the search bar to find my item, along with the owner filters so that I don't have to click through multiple pages. There's my flooring paper. I'll click add, and then we'll go ahead and start working on this item. We'll edit it to apply our waste and ensure that all our other fields align with the way we purchase this item. And use my formula. I'm going to take the simple variable of area and divide that by 2,000 to identify how many rolls we need. To test my formula, if I have 2,500 square feet, I will need 1.25 rolls. I don't typically purchase this in a different size, so I am going to go ahead and ask the system to round up my result to whole rolls because I can use this from project to project. Once I have checked off roundup results and I click run, you'll see that it rounded it up to 2 rolls. Rounding up results is a personal business decision and will be applicable from different cost items depending on what it is you're working on. Please feel free to utilize this as needed. Make sure you give your formula a name, save your changes, and apply it to your cost item. I'll need to add in the labor rate for this cost item. To do this, I'm going to add a brand new cost item and build that from scratch. I know that my crew can apply this construction flooring paper at a rate of about 1,000 square feet per hour. So my description will be a reflection of how I work the labor for this. I'm not going to apply a waste to my labor line items, but my unit cost will be my price per hour. Item type will be labor. Unit of measure will be hours. Save your changes, and to apply your formula, we will take our area and divide that by 1,000. And that will tell us how many hours of estimated labor it will take to protect the flooring. Click Save to save your formula and apply it to your cost item. To save your changes, click Save Changes. Next, let's build the assembly for our plastic sheeting. Be sure to name your assembly, select your measurement type, and start adding your cost items. Make any adjustments necessary to your cost item. For our formula, we've named our formula. Now, the actual formula will be area divided by the total square footage we get from one roll of plastic sheeting. Save and apply to your cost item. You can add your labor just like we did for the construction paper, or you can save these changes if you have worked your labor into other line items. Navigate back to your takeoff, send these measurements to your assembly. We've shown you two different ways of approaching the painting estimate for a project. You can tackle it in a pure cost per square foot approach like we see here, or we can use assemblies to get a more detailed list of our material, equipment, and labor costs. Remember to use the Adjust Rates button to make adjustments to your unit and your overhead and profit. Once you have completed all the work on your project's estimate, you can click the Export button to download it to your computer as an Excel sheet. I hope you log in and start utilizing all the tools that we learned about today to make your estimating process faster. Thank you for watching.